Welcome back to the Magnetic Marketing Podcast. Today we get to listen to Dan Kennedy himself. Dan Kennedy is going to be sharing us part one of a two-part series that's going to be talking about advanced sales strategies. Now, a lot of the times, entrepreneurs feel very strange coming into the topic of sales and really delving deep into it because we don't want to off-put any of our customers. And often the thing that we are good at is the thing we want to talk about most often, not the sales of the thing. However, if sales is your thing, this is going to have some extremely advanced strategies for you at the same time as allaying the fears that you may have as an entrepreneur. Let's talk about appropriately confronting the task of sales inside of your business without underestimating it in any way.
I don't think there's anybody that has had a bigger impact in the field of direct response than Dan Kennedy.
The legend of Dan Kennedy should be ignored at your own peril.
They're not really lessons, they're kind of laws that you live by.
Dan opened my eyes to what small business marketing looks like.
Dan teaches strategic direct response that is timeless.
His ripple effect touches people who don't even know his name.
The world as we know it was changed because Dan Kennedy became obsessed with marketing.
Welcome to the Magnetic Marketing Podcast with your host, Dan Kennedy.
I think now what I want to do is we like to bring up the professor of harsh reality, the millionaire maker, the Napoleon Hill of the 21st century, and Dan Kennedy talking about the ultra advanced sales and persuasion strategies. Mr. Dan Kennedy.
Thank you, sir. The list of monikers is getting longer with age. The real reason to be here is this. It's this implementation thing, which, the professor of harsh reality moniker. See, this is like the part of business that nobody likes. And so, like, as Bill said, we like focus, no BS marketing, right? We focus on the marketing side, which if you stop to think about it, really is the delivery of a prospective customer, client, or patient up to the point of whether a sale now occurs or a sale doesn't occur, right? So what we focus on is the delivery of the customer to the automobile showroom, the patient to the dental office, getting the business-to-business person into the prospect's office, getting a person to a website, so marketing gets them right to that point, right? And then some really bad things happen. Like, first of all, the human element happens. So often up to that point, we're all able to move that person along without any human interaction. And therefore, we're able to totally control what's said, right, to them, and in what order it's said, and the order in which things happen, and what they see and what they don't see until we're ready for them to see this. And we start to lose control over all that as soon as humans, ourselves or other humans, get involved. Because if you take a regular speech, not what I'm doing today, but if you take my magnetic marketing speech, so for 11 years, I lived off that speech. Well, one of the biggest challenges about that is to deliver that speech exactly the same way, with exactly the same words, at exactly the same speed, at exactly the same pace, with exactly the same gestures, at exactly the same moment, 35 to 40 times a year without deviation. See, now that's easy to do with media. It's real hard to do with a human, because we get bored with it and we start to mess around with it, and we decide, we just read this in the newspaper and so we'll talk about this today, and we screw it up, right? And so managing the sales part of the business. So Bill and I have a client right now that is a enormous frustration to us for a variety of reasons, but one of them is that they want all their problems answered with cheaper leads, more leads, when 80% of their problems are in their sales process, not in their advertising and marketing process. But the stuff in the sales process requires a lot of sleeves rolled up, kind of ugly, grimy, unpleasant work. In their case, it means firing and replacing some salespeople. It means actually creating scripts. It means doing a lot of things that aren't as much fun as dreaming up the next clever ad. If you spend much time, and so a lot of you, this is your first event, but that doesn't mean you haven't been reading and all that. So if you spend much time around our kind of stuff, you go from maybe early on not only not understanding direct marketing and direct response copy and so forth, but really not liking it, to sort of falling in love with it. And it's a great place to go play, and so, dreaming, what's the next weird lumpy object that we're going to send somebody in an envelope, and then what are we going to say about the trash can or the stuffed barking dog or the thing we send them, and I just found big stuffed furry dice at the dollar store. How am I going to use those in my marketing campaign? And so that stuff's fun, right? This, frankly, isn't all that much fun, and so it's been like a hole in what we deliver. We have never spent a lot of time on it with you folks because, quite frankly, it's not as welcome as the other stuff. And so the right reason to be here, and I don't know why you came. Probably some of you came because it was free, and you said, well, I got it, so I got to go. Some people just show up because they didn't know any better. I did a 3-day seminar once. We had a guy who was in the wrong room, and he was there for 6 hours before he figured out. Honest to God, he was in the wrong room. He was in there for 6 hours before he figured out that he was in the wrong place. So, so the right reason to be here is to understand that what you want is seamless integration between your marketing and your sales, and that your marketing has all sorts of waste in it. And in some cases, our kind of marketing can't be afforded without a really good sales process connected to it. And you want to work really as much on making a sales process good as you want to work on making the marketing process good. So I have another client, for example, who they have a marketing process that delivers. Now think about this. It delivers a prospect to their salesperson who has been pre-qualified, has raised their hand, has jumped through 3 hoops to get there, knows what the price is in advance, and is coming in to see the thing. What do you think their closing percentage is? Seriously, under those circumstances, if you're running that company, how many, out of 10 appointments, how many sales do you think your salespeople ought to make? Right? They're at 35%. Okay? And what they want is a better ad. Okay, now we laugh. Now the important thing when you laugh about that is to go home, look in the mirror, and make sure you're not guilty of some similar stupidity, right? Because it's easy to see stupid in other people, not so easy to see stupid in ourselves, even harder to admit it, and even harder to choose to work on it, right? But so that's the right reason to be here. So I don't know what brought you, but the right reason, and the reason to dig in on for the rest of the 2 days is, what can I do to make my sales part of my business as good as my marketing part of my business? And so, joking aside, my friend Sydney, and that business of Sydney's is more than a few years ago. That was a long time ago. But nobody's business is any different than that business was. All right? But unlike most of those businesses, high-end clientele and enormous repeat business. Why? Because it's easy to get the first time. It's not so easy to get the 20th time. And it's because, as Bill said, a great sales process. See, what people actually don't even understand is this doesn't just impact on the sale. It impacts on the relationship from the sale on, which is where all the real profit and value and money and equity is. It's not just in the first sale. We can make a sale lots of different ways. We can bully them into it. We can slam dunk them into it. We can lie them into it. We can do all sorts of things to make a sale. What happens, after the fact? Well, the sales process has an enormous impact on that as well. So the right reason to be here is you've decided now to focus on the value in the business from the point of sale on, rather than in addition to, up to the point of sale. So I promised to give you the most important thing first, so I will. So it's football season, and there's very famous football season cartoons. I'm going to show you 3 of them. You may not be able to read every word, but that's okay. I'll give you the last panel, and you'll conceptually get it. And if you really get it, these 3 cartoons tell you the most important thing you need to know about selling, and then about building a sales process. So here's the first one. And so it's a Peanuts cartoon. And of course, it has, for Peanuts fans, it has Lucy convincing Charlie Brown that she will not pull the ball away, that she will hold the ball so he can kick it. And of course, Lucy pulls the ball away, right? And so the end panel in this one is, Charlie Brown, your faith in human nature is an inspiration to all young people. All right? Yeah. Okay, now here's the next one, of course. And here, Lucy's convincing Charlie that she's not going to pull the ball away this time. And Charlie finally buys into it and decides to kick the ball. And Lucy pulls the ball away. And the end panel in this one is, what have you learned here today, Charlie Brown, will be of immeasurable value to you for many years to come. Right? Then here's the last one. And again, of course, we have Lucy holding the ball, Peanuts running up, and the ball being pulled away. And the end panel is, Lucy says, it's so sad. Eventually, everything in life just becomes routine. Now, if you're really a sharp pencil, and you left and I left, you just got the thing hardly anybody really, totally, deeply gets about the sales process and about what needs to be done for really exceptional success in selling. You just got it. The gold key of all gold keys, and I don't care if you're using media, I don't care if you're selling in person, is these 2 statements. People want to believe, and people are afraid to believe. See, we underestimate the degree to which they have had the football pulled away so many times that they go into any experience deeply fearful and negatively expectant of having the football pulled away again. So people want to buy. They want to believe and they want to buy. Bill Gove, 35 years ago, ran around the country giving a speech called People Love to Buy. And he's right. They love to buy. Shopping is like our number 2 pastime, right? That's what people do. We're the only culture where people go to the mall for entertainment, for no preconceived purpose. See, in other cultures, people go to a store because they need to buy something. We go to find something to buy. QVC and Home Shopping Network is a Tupperware party with 5 million people at it. And the beauty of that is they tune in to buy. That's why they tune in. And that's why you can get away with doing 20 minutes about a garden hose. Right? And people call up and they sell 15,000 garden hoses. How can this be? Because people love to buy and they tuned in. That's their entertainment. So people want to buy. George Carlin's deal, right? People want more stuff. Doesn't matter how much stuff you got, you want more stuff. Okay? Everybody's got this experience. At some point in their life, they have a house. There's not a square inch left on the wall to hang anything, but they buy a painting. Where exactly are you going to put it? Okay? Every shelf is full of stuff, and you buy more stuff. And if you're not doing it now, think about your grandparents. Or think about your parents. Okay? They're getting the Norman Rockwell figurine of the month. Okay? There is not a square inch of shelf space left to put the Norman Rockwell figurine of the month. Thomas Kinkade paintings. You know Thomas Kinkade? Okay? Also on QVC, amongst other places. Okay? They sign people up in continuity, like our continuity program. Okay? They get a Thomas Kinkade painting. I mean, a big painting. every month. They got them stored in garages, and here's part of his pitch, which is great, right? Different Thomas Kincaid paintings are more appropriate for different seasons than others. So you take them off the wall, crate them up, and put a different one up on the wall for fall. You put a different one up. They've got them in continuity, okay? And they're living in apartments, and they're getting so people want more stuff, right? I mean, we are believers by nature and conditioning. We want to believe because we were taught to believe. Now, with each passing decade and generation, this is maybe a little less true, but still, most of you in this room are old enough to have had some sort of, enforced religious upbringing. Right? I mean, I was raised a Lutheran, so that's Catholic without confession. Well, by the way, that's exactly what it is, right? No St. Christopher medal, no funny little bread, and no confession booth. Other than that, it's the same deal. Right down to classes called catechism. See, they were so lazy, they didn't even change the name of the class. They just created a new deal with no bread. Okay? Eliminated the overhead, kept the religion. That was the deal. So I was raised well, you're pretty safe with this, There aren't that many Lutherans in the audience, and so if you offend them, you offend them. But you were all probably raised something, and you were taught to believe that which on a logical level, of course, is, it's often said, if you didn't know any better and you hadn't been raised in this particular way, and I gave you a religious story from whatever religion you belong to, and I gave you Sleeping Beauty, you can't tell the two stories apart. We choose to believe. We were conditioned to believe in one and not to believe in the other. We are conditioned to believe people. We're very reluctant not to believe them, right? How do politicians get elected? Because we want to believe them when they tell us. Hillary told us yesterday, God bless her, every baby born is going to get $5,000 deposited into its account. No, see, you can't. No. Get $5,000 deposited. I already have had smart people look at me and say, what a great idea. Just like she told them. Now everybody's going to be able to go to college. And their parents won't have to pay for any of it. And nobody will have to work. Ain't that spectacular? There's 4 million babies born every year, times $5,000. You go do the math. Okay? They can't take enough money from you and me to fund this deal. Okay? But everybody's buying this yesterday like there's no tomorrow. Wow, wonderful. Why? Because we want to. Right? We want to believe this. So people want to believe. So when they don't buy, and last thing, they have the ability to buy, by the way. Now that's a big mind shift for a lot of people. So a minute on it. Okay? You have things in your head about price in your business that are not true. They are not true empirically. They are not true in the minds of your customers. They are not true in the behavior of your customer, but you have it in your head. Okay? And so there are people who put a great marketing process in place, and then their sales process fails purely because they or the people who are face-to-face with, and remember, Bill said everybody's in sales, so it's not just your salesperson. It's the person at the front desk. It's the person who takes the inbound telephone call. It's the person who escorts them from one room to the other. It's the people who have face-to-face contact with them, verbal contact, human contact with them, maybe including you, have things in your head that ooze out through your pores about price that influence the behavior of the customer in a negative and adverse way that otherwise would not occur. Okay? Because people have the ability to buy. Regardless of what you're hearing on CNN, they got the ability to buy. Subprime mortgage crisis affects 3.6% of the population. Right? That's it. Okay? On any one given day, so does rain. Okay? 3.6% of the people are so depressed by rain, they don't leave their house and won't buy anything. Okay? So what? Okay? We had 9,000 less jobless claims this month than last month. So more people are working. They got money. Okay? And there's a big segment of the population that's got more discretionary money to spend than ever. And of course, you should be selling to people that, So with all that said, Why don't they buy? Why do only 40% of those people buy that I described to you earlier? Why does anybody you nurture through your marketing process get all the way to the point of sale and not buy? Why on earth does somebody go to an auto showroom? So they've researched cars on the internet now. They printed out the thing they want. They go to the car showroom. They've already thought through how they're going to pay for this. Okay? They go to the showroom to test drive the car they've already picked out, that they've already made their decision that they're going to buy, and they don't buy it. How can that be? I react the same way you reacted to the one I posed to you. How can it be that we're not closing 90%? How can this be? Why don't they buy? They want to buy. They desperately want to buy. And yet, somebody manages to unsell them. How can that be? Because we underestimate the number of times that the football's been pulled out from under them, and we don't understand the impact that it has had deep in their psyche. And so therefore, we don't do everything that we can and should do to convince them that this time, this person won't pull the ball away. That's what this is all about. What stands between you and a sale is fear. That's what stands between you and a sale, is fear. I don't care if you're selling to the CEO in the boardroom or mom and pop in the trailer park. Doesn't make any difference. What stands in the way of the sale is fear. So here's why people are afraid to buy. The first three group together. They have believed and then they've been betrayed countless times before. Think politics. Okay? So the Republicans got control, and those of us who are conservative Republicans, we're all excited because we finally gave them control of both houses of Congress and the White House, and a little list of things that we kind of thought were going to happen. None of them happened. So, okay, they all got thrown out. Those of you who are Democrats, you're all excited. You got your guys elected and gave them control of both houses and gave them the least popular president since, I don't know, and a little list of things you thought were going to happen that they told you were going to happen, and none of them have happened. So if you think politics now, whoever's going to convince them tomorrow that they're not going to pull the ball away has all of this accumulated experience of the ball being pulled away again and again and again and again and again and again. So they've believed, they've been betrayed. They've believed, they've been betrayed. They bought a product from television that they saw demoed on TV, right? The slicer dicer thing that you can make a tomato into a flower in 10 seconds or less. And then they got it, and all they can make is smashed tomatoes. So then they got the mixer. That, oh, you can put a quart of ice cream, 2 potatoes, a leg of lamb in this thing, stick this little mixer in it, and whoop, you got a milkshake. They get it home, this thing won't stir water. Too thick. In 2-point visible in the brochure, it says, you kind of got to chew all that stuff up before you mix it. Say, wait a minute. So, again and again and again and again, they've believed and been betrayed. Now, we're going to go on TV and sell them our new slicer dicer. And we think in our heads, we're making that sale in a vacuum. Right? So we know what a sales structure is, so we create a sales structure, we create a good demonstration, but we're not making that sale in a vacuum. We're making the sale in the context of all of the previous betrayals. Right? And that's the context that we work in. So now what they believe in most is betrayal. They think in advance that whatever is being said to them is not going to prove true. That's where you're starting from. See, you're not starting from zero. Now, with a good marketing process, you moved them somewhat from zero. But whenever you start the sales process, you're not starting from zero, you're starting at some negative number. If the negative number was 100, with a real good marketing process, maybe we got them to minus 30. They're still in the minus category. They still believe more in betrayal than they believe in anything else. And now your sales process has to move them the rest of the way. They have no confidence in other people. Most of them, most of your prospects, if they could do it, would lock themselves away in their house and have no interaction with anybody who sells them anything for the rest of their lives. They can't as a practical matter, but that would be their preference. That's where you're starting from. Then the next two things group together. This is even like a bigger barrier. They don't have any confidence in themselves. They have great belief in self-betrayal. They blame themselves for having made a lot of bad decisions, for having for having had poor judgment in trusting bad people, for being stupid enough to buy bad products. They will verbalize to you, oh, I fell for that again. Oh, I knew better, but I fell for that again. I actually believed with nothing but a hairpin you can turn the ladder into 512 different ladders. Right? How stupid was I? So they have no confidence in their ability to make good decisions. They have no confidence in themselves. The vast majority of people have very weak self-images. Just talk to them. Understand the language of self-image and talk to them. They'll tell you. No, they don't come out and say, I'm an idiot and, I need to be locked away from my own protection. They're not going to enunciate it that way, but they're nearly there. Then all the rest of them, the third group, right, is a lot of emotional stuff. They fear and they hate feeling stupid. Nobody hates anything more than this. Think about yourself. Okay? Whatever it is in your life, and we all have something that makes us feel stupid. It could be your remote control. Okay? Well, seriously, for me it's the computer. Okay? So I hate the thing. I mean, with a visceral hatred. The number of times that I have consigned Bill Gates to the closest seat to the furnace in hell can no longer be counted. Why do I hate the thing so much? Because it won't do what I want it to do. And it makes me feel stupid. I have to get somebody to come help me make it do what I want to do. Everybody's got something in your life that does this, and you detest it. So these people do not want they don't want another one of those. They don't want to walk away from another experience of buying something and then feeling like an idiot for having bought it. They hate that. Okay? And that's their frame of reference. That's their context. They hate the embarrassment of having others know they've been conned. They've been betrayed. They've wound up with something. See, the guy who has a pair of hearing aids at home in the drawer that he can't hear with, much harder to sell a pair of hearing aids to. See, not only have they disappointed him, his spouse knows he got taken advantage of, his buddies know he got taken advantage of. The guy who buys the latest golf gizmo and brings it to the golf course and still shanks the ball into the woods. Unfortunately, there were 3 other people to watch, see? And they all now will ride him about that thing for the rest of his born days. See? Well, how come you don't have your magic driver with you? Huh? Gee, if you just had your magic driver, you wouldn't be in the river. All right? Well, that's a real impediment to buying the next magic driver. You'll only go through that so many times before you say, screw it, I'll just shank it for the rest of my life and I'll find 3 new friends, I'm done with attempting, right? So this is the context in which we sell. They fear and they hate wasting money. And by the way, interestingly, the older the person you are selling to, and the more affluent the person you are selling to, the more this is a driving force. Okay? The age thing is about having seen depression and recession when money really was tight. A 30-year-old had never seen that. A 50-year-old has seen it. A 60-year-old really has seen it. Okay? The affluence is, there's a reason people are affluent. And one of the reasons they have high net worth is that they don't waste money. Now, they all have something that they give themselves permission to pee away money on. So they have, usually have one thing: boat, exotic cars like Leno, racehorses like me, divorces like Stallone. I mean, everybody's got like one thing, that they give themselves permission. But for the most part, the reason they have high net worth is because they don't waste money. They buy appreciating assets, not depreciating assets. They shop for bargain, etc. So these people hate to waste money. And they've wasted money many times before when they tried not to. And so in their psyche is, I don't want to pee away money again. Right? And they fear and hate feelings of failure. Nobody likes to fail. Now, there's a big segment of the population unwilling to do the things necessary to be successful. We all know that. But that doesn't mean they like failure. They don't. And more importantly, they don't like to feel like failures. This is less about even their reality than it is about the feeling. So if they have bought a fitness device and it's in the garage, and they buy another fitness device that's in the garage, and they buy another fitness device that's in the garage, they don't want the feeling of putting the next one. See, it isn't even about not using it. Okay. By the way, I tell everybody, because as you know, I have done over the years a lot of work in TV infomercials, and the number one requirement for fitness devices sold on TV is the handles must point up, because if they point down, the laundry falls off of them, and people are unhappy. So I'm not kidding. So pay attention to how these things are manufactured. So you think I'm kidding? I'm not kidding. This is a real design issue. Like if you sell on a 30-day refund policy, see, you can't have the clothes falling off. But it's about the feeling of putting the third one in the garage. It's not even about the reality of them piling up in the garage. It's about how that makes me feel. And nobody likes to feel like a failure. So most of their experience with buying things from people who sell them things has been, from their perspective at least, having the ball pulled away again and again and again and again. It even is, it is for us. I mean, most of what you buy is unsatisfying to you in one way or another. Most of what I buy is unsatisfying to me in one way or another. Some of it's minor and we tolerate it. Some of it's major and we don't. I will tell you, because like the old joke, I'm telling everybody, I think the Sleep Number bed company is the single worst, most evil company to exist on planet Earth. And if you would ever be tempted to buy one, my recommendation to you is not. And I'll be sending them a copy of this DVD, because every week I'm sending them some more evidence of me telling people what a miserable, stinking company they are. But most of our buying experiences are not like that unsatisfying. But they are like unsatisfying. We have healthier self-images, so we don't internalize that. Okay. But pretty much their experience has been not good with being sold things. And so the context is they don't feel good about it. They don't feel confident about it. They'd rather avoid it if they could, right? So why does somebody walk into a store? Essentially, so if Carla's going into a clothing store to buy clothes and someone comes up and says, can I help you? What does she say? No, I'm just looking, right? Why do they say that? They went there to buy something. Why do they say that? Because of all these fears. So even though they went to buy, they want to believe, okay, they have this long list of painful things that are going to happen to them if they do buy. The person walks over and says, can I help you? See, they don't see oh, here's a nice person who's probably knowledgeable about what's in the store, and this person is going to help me. That's not what they see. What they see is Lucy pulling away the ball. That's what they see. Okay? And so, by the way, any little thing that you do that furthers that picture in their head, it just multiplies the problem. It just makes it worse. Okay. So that's the context in which we operate. And understand that a tactic, however good it may be, is not enough to really compensate for this context. So, for example, risk reversal selling, right? Everybody in the room understands it, right? Guarantee, strong guarantee, multiple guarantees, at least one of the guarantees being a no restrictions, unconditional guarantee. So we take all the risk away from buying. Well, that's good, but it is not enough. It's like a Band-Aid for heart surgery. Okay? It is not enough to compensate for this context. So here's like the first thing to really get about selling. It is not to underestimate the difficulty of the task. This is how people mess themselves up all the way along, by the way. So on the marketing side, we underestimate the difficulty of getting them to read an ad. We underestimate the difficulty of getting them to open an envelope. We underestimate the difficulty of getting them to open and read an email. See, we think just because we sent it, they'll read it. We underestimate the difficulty of getting them to pay attention to what they've even already purchased, let alone stuff designed to sell them stuff. Now over here on the sales side, we grossly underestimate the difficulty of the task because of the context in which we work. The context in which we work is the context of betrayal, disbelief, fear, pain, things that they wish to avoid. So Billy Bob and his wife picked out the car they want. They went to Consumer Reports. They downloaded information off the internet. They know what color they want. They've pictured themselves in the car. They can't wait to get this car. They figured out how they're going to pay for the car. They go to the showroom. They test drive the car. They still don't buy the car because of this context. And the salesperson grossly underestimating the difficulty of the task of dealing with the context. See, he thinks he's there to sell a car. So everything he does is about the car. Right? So he opens the hood, shows you the engine, tells you how many gigabytes it has. I'm not joking, by the way. That's in a new Cadillac commercial. I clicked immediately, but so now we're not talking about engines. We're talking about how many gigabytes the Cadillac has. I'm thinking, okay, cross that puppy off my list. But it looked good till they said that, you know. Sexy car, sexy woman, foot on the gas pedal and a high heel. Then I heard gigabytes, and I clicked. But the last thing I want is another, I got one in a house. I don't want something in the garage with gigabytes in it. So the car sales guy thinks he's selling a car. No. He's convincing this person he won't pull the ball away. That's what he's doing. See, so we don't really even understand what the sales job is, let alone how to do it well. See, I started in my first and only sales job. I had one job. I'm fundamentally unemployable, just like most of you. That's why it's a good thing there's such a thing as self-employment, right? Because our other choice would be unemployment, right? Those are sort of our two choices in life, right? So I had this job for 11 months, and it was a field territory sales rep job for a book publishing company. And the previous two people in the territory had come and gone, and this company had a rack program. You installed a big rack full of books. And so the previous sales rep had come and gone twice, providing zero service. So there were a lot of people with cartons of rack parts and books in their warehouses and their back rooms. Nobody had ever come and done the 67 things they promised they were going to do once this crap arrived. But they were getting dunned for it by the billing side of the business to the point that they're getting sued to pay the bill for the stuff they got that is still sitting in boxes. And so the environment was not real good. Needless to say, by the way, this was not fully disclosed to me during the interview process in which I was hired. So, I mean, literally, the third place I went, a chain of drugstores, literally, I was chased out of the store by a crazed pharmacist throwing metal rack parts at my head. This is day one on the job. Okay? You keep this salesperson fundamentally based on him having no alternative. That's what you do. But I literally sat in the car and I quickly figured out that, like, taking the sample case in and talking to them about books, see, that was not what this job was going to be about. That's what I thought it was going to be about. Talking about, X dollars a square foot, how many times a year the rack turns, and look at our new titles, and we got Rodney Dangerfield. It wasn't about that. It was about a whole bunch of people who'd had the ball pulled away one too damn many times. And so forget sample case, forget catalog, forget any of that. I got a different job here. Most people don't even understand what the job is.
Thank you for listening to the Magnetic Marketing Podcast with Dan Kennedy. If you love hearing in on these lost Dan Kennedy talks and speeches and calls, then please let someone else know about this podcast. That's how you can help it to grow. And the more it grows, the more free Dan Kennedy we can bring to you. Also, Dan would love to give you the most incredible free gift ever, designed to help you make maximum money in minimum time. Now, this free gift comes with almost $20,000 in pure money-making information for free just for saying maybe. You can get this gift from Dan right now at nobsletter.com. Not only will you get the $20,000 gift, you're also going to get a subscription to 2 marketing newsletters that will be hand-delivered by the mailman to your mailbox each and every month. One from Dan Kennedy and one from me, Russell Brunson. To get this gift and your subscription, go to nobsletter.com right now.